Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Josephine and on this channel we talk about fragrances. Today's video is a highly requested video because many of you have asked me to give my first impressions on new fragrances that launched this year. So I will be talking about fragrances like 1 Million Parfum, Black Orchid Parfum, and many more. So if you'd like to know more about these new fragrances, then please keep on watching. All right, let's begin with the newest release from PACO RABANNE. It is 1 Million Parfum. So this is the latest release on the 1 Million line, and I have to say, it is probably my favorite from 1 Million right now. So this is a very sexy and sweet perfume for men that has a similar charismatic and mass-appealing DNA to the original 1 Million, but it's an entirely different fragrance. So the main notes anyways in this fragrance is a solar leather accord. There's also some tuberose in this scent, but essentially it's meant to be solar and leathery. I personally don't get too much of the leather in this scent. I find that it is dense and thick, which is reminiscent of leather, but there isn't a prominent leather note as you would know it. That's what I would say about this scent. However, it does have this solar and exotic feel about it, which is why I personally love this fragrance so much. I find that there isn't a prominent note of tuberose, but there is also monoi, and monoi is an exotic flower which reminds me a lot of summer in France because a lot of people would wear monoi as like a tanning lotion. That's what the scent of the tanning lotion would be in France. And I just love this scent. It kind of brings me there. That being said, I wouldn't say this is a tropical or summer perfume per se. It has that escapism vibe, and funny enough, it reminds me a little bit of a masculine pina colada. At least it has like an underlying masculine pina colada feel about it. So it's creamy and juicy, but there's a lot of other things going on in this scent that make it incredibly addictive. This for sure is a great date night perfume in my opinion, and it can be worn pretty much all year round, I would say. It's not just like a summery feel type of perfume, not at all. I think it's great to wear also during the fall and winter time. So this is a really good versatile perfume and a really good release actually from PACO RABANNE. The next fragrance is a feminine release. It is Good Girl Supreme by Carolina Herrera. This is the second flanker or the third perfume to the Good Girl range, and it came out just recently back in September. So this fragrance contains similar notes to the original Good Girl, so you'll find some jasmine, some tuberose, so these creamy florals that also are blended with tonka bean, so that sweetness. But the difference with Good Girl Supreme and the original Good Girl is that it also has some berries, so there's red fruits in the top as well as vetiver in the base. So overall, this perfume I find is very different to the original Good Girl, and it has a very different type of sweetness. So with the original Good Girl, you have your creamy florals are bold, that are very feminine, and they're blended with the tonka bean and the cacao. So that sweet base is very creamy and almondy, whereas with the new Good Girl Supreme, it is more of a candy-like sweetness. So you definitely have those berries, but what I get is more of a strawberry bubblegum type of sweetness. So it's really candy-like as opposed to something that is creamy and milky and almondy. That is the main difference. What I find with Good Girl Supreme is that it's a very appealing scent. So when I first tried it, I really liked it, and I think that it will definitely grab attention of a lot of ladies because it's another one of those fragrances that are very charismatic. The third fragrance is a niche release. It is by Maison KURKDJIAN. It is called L'Homme à la Rose. This is a rose perfume for men, and it is, I'm gonna say it right now, a gorgeous, gorgeous scent. Maison KURKDJIAN do fragrances so well. They're always really well blended, really high quality, and this new release is no exception. So L'Homme à la Rose is a fresh rose. And what I find about this fragrance is that it has a really crisp fruitiness about it that is reminiscent to my nose of some sort of maybe green apple, that really crisp freshness. And to be completely honest, it reminds me of these really beautiful deep red roses that are velvety, almost like, I'm not gonna say black, but almost like a very deep wine colored red. And that is what they smell like. To me, this fragrance smells like these roses. It is also complemented with some grapefruit, so for that added freshness. And overall, I find that this perfume is a very realistic, natural smelling rose. It is not anything that is super crazy and really complex. It's a very easily wearable fragrance, a perfume that is also very versatile, that you can really wear on an everyday basis. If you want something that is quite casual, it's a great fragrance to reach out for. So if you're a man and you're looking for a casual rose perfume that is fresh, that still is masculine, definitely check out this new release from Maison Francis KURKDJIAN called L'Homme à la Rose. Next up, we have SPICEBOMB Night Vision, the Eau de Parfum. And let me just say it out there right now that most of the releases from this year are all Eau de Parfum, or parfum, or intense, basically more intense versions of the original fragrances. This has been a trend that I've seen when I went in store and also looking at blogs. Everyone is releasing a parfum version. So, what does this fragrance smell like? It's definitely much sweeter, and the way that it's done in the top is that you get a really astonishing pistachio note. So with the pistachio, you have this creamy, almost almondy feel that is, frankly, very astonishing for a designer fragrance. You would typically find this more in niche perfumes. So that's really nice. That's what I really like about the opening. However, very quickly you get the apple note, which is also found in the Eau de Toilette, that really takes over, and that has this like really fruity, thick kind of sweetness. And that gives it also a candy-like vibe, which I find is very sweet for a man's perfume. As it dries down, the sweetness sort of tones down a little bit and you get more of the woods and the spices that you would typically find in SPICEBOMB. And the woods, I will say, are much smokier in the Eau de Parfum version compared to the EDT. So my overall verdict is, do you need this perfume? Probably not. But if you are hesitating between Night Vision, Eau de Toilette and Eau de Parfum, I would for sure go for the Eau de Parfum because it's stronger and I find that it's more interesting and for sure is still mass appealing. So that was SPICEBOMB Night Vision, the Eau de Parfum by VIKTOR and ROLF. Next up, we have a very requested fragrance from you guys. You've asked me to give you my first impressions on this scent. It is Black Orchid Parfum. So Black Orchid Parfum is of course a more intense version of the original Black Orchid, which frankly I don't really think needs an intense version. The original version is already so powerful, super strong. I mean, yeah, I don't know why, but there you go. You have Black Orchid Parfum. So Black Orchid Parfum, I'm just gonna look at the notes. It has enhanced notes of ylang ylang, there's also black plum, black truffle, and patchouli, and it retains the original DNA of Black Orchid. So I've smelt this fragrance just yesterday and I compared it side by side with the original Black Orchid Parfum. What I will say is that it's very similar to the original perfume. Honestly, if you have the original fragrance, you do not need the parfum. This is another way for brands to just bank in the sales, is to create a more intense version of the original, and honestly with this one there isn't a huge difference between the two. If you're like a hardcore Black Orchid lover and like you know your fragrance inside out, yes, there are some subtle differences, but overall if you're just smelling Black Orchid for the first time, honestly you don't need that perfume. Unless you're looking for something that is like super intense and even more extreme than the original, then yeah, that fragrance could be one for you. What I will say is that with Black Orchid Parfum, you get an enhanced dose of ylang ylang, which is an exotic flower that has a fruity, spicy, and also a bit green undertones. That is very nice and very intoxicating. So the parfum version has an enhanced dose of this ylang ylang. I don't get much plum in this perfume, although it's listed in the notes. You do have some sort of fruitiness for sure, but I don't get a very distinct plum note. So if it were me, I would not purchase this perfume because I already have the original Black Orchid and I'm very happy with it. Next up, we have another niche release. It is by Juliette Has a Gun Lipstick Fever. They kindly sent me this fragrance for review and I thought that it would be fitting to include it in this video as this perfume was released just recently. So Lipstick Fever, as the name suggests, is a lipstick-inspired scent. And certainly it does smell like a lipstick, but it's different compared to other lipstick fragrances in the sense that I find it's made more modern and a bit less vintagey, if you know what I mean, when it comes to lipstick perfumes. So there's lots of different notes in here. You have raspberry, there's iris, violet, you also have some cedar wood, some vanilla, and overall the things that I pick out the most within this scent are raspberry, which is very juicy, tangy as well. And there's also some iris, which I really enjoy in the scent. I love how powdery it is and very clean as well and soft. And then you get some cedar wood in the base and also quite a lot of musk. I find that this fragrance is quite musky. And if I'm not mistaken, there probably is some ambroxan in here because it has a very nice trail, a scent trail that you kind of want to smell over and over again, and that's what I find ambroxan does to a fragrance. So yeah, I think it's a really nice lipsticky type of fragrance that is more lifted than your traditional lipstick inspired scents. What I will say though, with Juliette Has a Gun fragrances is that they're not the perfumes that are the most long lasting in the world. If this is important to you, if you're looking for a very thick, super strong, long lasting lipstick scent, go for Frédéric Malle's lipstick inspired perfume. But if you're looking for something that is softer, that is very feminine, because this is a very feminine fragrance, that is also quite sheer, Lipstick Fever is super nice. This is a perfume that I very much look forward to wearing well, right now in the colder months. I think it would work very well for the autumn time. So that was Lipstick Fever by Juliette Has a Gun. Next up, we have another designer release for men. It is K Eau de Parfum by Dolce and Gabbana. And this is going to be a very quick review because frankly, I find that it is an extremely underwhelming release. Just as underwhelming as the original Eau de Toilette. And I very, very rarely say this about fragrances on my channel. I don't tend to trash perfumes because, you know, there's always an artist behind the development of a scent and there's a lot of thought that goes into fragrance creation. But there are certain fragrances that, to me, are just not worth it, and that frankly are very underwhelming. And K by Dolce & Gabbana is a really underwhelming scent. It's a shame because the advertising is super nice, the bottle looks great, it looks super premium, but honestly the juice is a flop. So yeah, the Eau de Toilette was a flop, and I think that the Eau de Parfum isn't any better. Yes, it smells a little bit more intense than the original version. There's a little bit more of woods and some aromatic notes in there, but you know, it's not a crazy scent. It's not anything that is groundbreaking. I'm not sure in terms of longevity because I tested it on the blotter, but it's not anything that is groundbreaking, which is why I didn't even bother testing it on my skin. And finally, we have Angel Nova by Mugler. This is the newest flanker to the Angel line by Thierry Mugler for women. So Angel Nova is surprisingly totally different to the original Angel. So the original Angel is very well known for its very sweet, gourmand, patchouli character that was really revolutionary back in the day, and actually a lot of fragrances have been inspired by this scent. But with Angel Nova, you don't have this sticky patchouli association. In fact, Angel Nova is a very big bomb of juicy, very acidic fruits. So it's like very acidic red fruits and very sweet candy-like. That's how I would describe it. It actually reminds me of some Escada fragrances. So each summer Escada would come out with a new release, a new limited edition that was super nice. It was like fruity and tropical and nothing complex, but it's a scent that is very joyful and it will just make you happy. And I think that for the summertime, those type of scents are super nice. And I do find that Angel Nova has that sort of vibe. So the note that is the most prominent in this scent is raspberry. And the raspberry is very acidic. It's almost like the type of acidity that will make your mouth water. It's very tangy and it also reminds me a bit of like raspberry syrup. So it's quite thick and sweet. You get a little bit of rose, and the rose that you have in this perfume it's watery, it's dewy, it's very fresh, which you kind of need because this perfume is extremely sweet. There's also some woods apparently in the scent, but I don't get much woods. I essentially get raspberry and a dewy rose. I would say this fragrance, because of its level of sweetness and the fact that it's also quite playful, I would say that it's appropriate for younger women. So that was Angel Nova by Mugler, and this concludes today's video. I have smelled a lot of other fragrances from 2020, so if you'd like to know more of my first impressions on newer releases, let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!